Good morning and welcome. I'm Bob Pace. I'm your host for How to Fight CPS and hang on to your children, or how to get back your children. This is a live podcast that's broadcast around the world. You found me on Facebook. I am using StreamYard on YouTube to do this podcast, which is on every day, Monday through Friday. Monday through Sunday, 7 days a week. That's 14 shows. It starts at 10 o'clock typically, um, and it goes to 11 o'clock, and that's Pacific time. Also in the evening, I come on at 7 p.m. and I'm off at 8 p.m., and that's Pacific Standard Time. There's some exceptions. Like today, I came on at 9:20 because I have a doctor's appointment. I have to be at 11 o'clock, so I can't go my normal show time. Also, every Sunday I'm on at 8 o'clock, 2 hours early because I have family with my church, and that falls on Sunday. So Sunday I'm on at 8, and next Friday, a week from today, I'll be on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon because I have a scheduled family outing. It's football. It's Friday Night Lights. My son plays football. So anyway, and it's an important game next week. It's number one against number two in the nation. So it's high school. So it's really great. Now, um, to interact with this podcast, I have several ways that you can interact. Now, the first way is to just be a guest in the room. There are five of you that have come in. I welcome you all. And just by listening or taking notes or making emojis, it's all there. So, Faye, you're there. Oh my God, I was worried because the time I left you a message that I'm starting early. So um, I have to see a doctor about two of my teeth that split wide open. It's hurting me really big time. So anyway, I'm going to be cutting out early today, but I'm glad to have you here. I'm going through my how we interact, and just by being in the show and giving thumbs up or love or all the emojis are great. Make sure you subscribe below. Make sure you subscribe to my podcast below. I like to have lots of viewers, and I'm here as a family man. I love families, and I've had six children myself, married 31 years. And unfortunately, at the age of 60, I got caught up where I lost my job through no fault of my own. And then my in laws, these are lay people, my wife's mother and father and brother and sisters, called and complained about our children. I did not know this was taking place. If I did, I would have nipped it in the bud. But apparently, they're making things that are out ridiculous. And every week for 5 years, I'm talking 5 years, I'd have to talk to the social worker. Finally, in 2015, when I was age 65, they got the law enforcement involved, and they tricked me to open up my house and come to see my house because they're looking for something. They hadn't found nothing in 5 years. But unfortunately, um, when I lost my job, I'm not getting a job anytime soon. I was running out of all my savings, and my parents were dying, and they had all their belongings they want me to distribute to family and friends or whatnot. And so I had my whole house filled with their belongings. That's 55 years. My parents were married for 55 years, so that's a long time. And so I was handling that, and social service thought because I had the boxes of furniture downstairs in the living room in a self-contained area that was dangerous to my children. They charged me with neglect of all stupidity, and the police detective turned in his report, and the district attorney decided to do a criminal charge. That later was a plea bargain, which is not something you should ever do. Don't ever plea bargain. Don't ever sign anything. Don't ever do anything. Don't let your children in the house. Don't open the door. There's so many things I can tell you. Now, another way to interact with this podcast is to type in a comment. If you have a question or something along those lines, um, you can type in your question. Make sure it pertains to CPS. It's very important that we talk about the child protection system. That is the agency. It is the branch of social service that deals with protecting of our children through neglect and abuse. And not only neglect and abuse, but also supposed to provide help to families in need in the areas of food, housing, clothing, medical services, um, all the things that social service has to offer. There's a lot of stuff. But the social services, the social workers in the branch of CPS are supposed to help. They're supposed to help. And lastly, if they break your family apart, they're supposed to do family reunification. But lately, they've been doing it. Everybody's in imminent danger. They got to take it. My kids were taken. They weren't in imminent danger. They're in school. They're in school. And the belongings that were downstairs were not going to hurt my children. They had their own private rooms, neatly kept. They had their own bathrooms, and it was a two-story huge house with a walk-in rock pool, tropical gardens, and I had Siberian Huskies. It was a beautiful private neighborhood close to the beach. But I lost all that because I had to hire an attorney. The CPS made me lose my home, so I lost all that. I worked 40 years for it. But anyway, my life is still upside down. So please show your name. Now, a lot of you have different names, and some of them are really kind of far out, and I can't pronounce them all. But show your name, your first name, or type your first name like it's Mary, Bob, Sue, Peggy, John, whatever. That's a good name to call yourself. I don't need a last name, but make sure you put the state, city, the state, or country. I have the countries from around the world. Yesterday, I had a young boy, 18, from Assam, uh, India. That's in the northeast part of India. And he called in looking for help. People are out there. Um, another country was Bangladesh, who called in the New Delhi, India. Then I've had also Mozambique in Africa. I've had South Africa. I've had Rwanda. I've had Liberia. And then in Europe, I've had England, Scotland, Wales, and Sweden and Denmark. And then across the pond, I've had Canada, both coasts, and the United States, all 50 states, including far places like the Rosebud Reservation, the Lakota Sioux, and South Dakota. And I've also had social workers on the show. I've had three of them. I've had a foster care mother who was not interested in adopting, and she said what she wanted to talk about. And then I had the social worker that was a third party social worker, and she agreed that CPS was corrupt. And then another social worker that was a clinical psychiatrist, had a college degree in Maryland, had 6 months of training in Maryland, and was shocked that what I was saying about CPS, because you'll find out that CPS is not a friendly agency. It's not a friendly agency at all. Now, going from the countries down south to Mexico, then South America, Grenada, and then across to Pacific to Australia. And so I've had a very interesting group of people from around the world that are in desperate needs of CPS also. Make sure you're complete with your case and tell me what your family structure, how the kids were taken, and what you were charged with and where you're at on your case. Now, a third way to be on this, interact with this podcast, is to be a guest on my show. I have a show producer. Her name is Grace, and she works really hard behind the scenes, and she takes care of me in the show, makes sure it runs smoothly, and so forth. Also, she's the person you want to send email to see about getting on the show. Now, I have 14 shows explained early on, and so pick one of those shows, like my Wednesday morning show or my Friday evening show or my Saturday morning show. It's just you just pick it. There's 14 shows, and email it to her to grace@vincentwdavis.com. That's grace@vincentwdavis.com. It's up on the screen. So there's the email, and then she'll contact you and give you the link to StreamYard and you'd be all set to go. There's no eating or smoking on the podcast, and um, I can take up to 9 of you. I can take up 9 windows of you. So, please email at grace@vincentwdavis.com. And I'd love to have you. I can have as many as 9 of you, with me as 10 on the window. So that would work out good. Now, um, the last way to interact is my phone number. And my phone number is now 626-698-0990. Now, it's live, and you can call me during that time. That's the best time to call me. During other times, I can't answer the phone. I can't answer the phone. So please call in. It's live. So if everybody wants to talk about anything, I'll put you on speakerphone and the whole room can hear you. Okay? Um, so, a couple other things too. I seem lately not to talk too much about my rules, and so I get them out of the way. Unless, Faye, if you had something you want to talk about, Faye, if you have something you want to talk about, I'll gladly give you the floor. By the way, Faye is from Richmond, Kentucky. She is a strong mother of 2. She lost her daughter when her daughter was 5 through no fault of her own. She had an ultimatum placed at her where she had to make a choice between her son and her daughter. Her son has special needs to be taken care of by his mother, and she is really good about doing that. He's 23, and she's trying to get guardianship because he can't live out on his own. He can't live on his own. But Faye's come up with a lot of things right now. There's the ADA Parents, American Disability Act. The parents at CPS are being abused and not afforded certain rights by CPS. So um, that is there. So anyway, I have 5 rules. Rule number 1, and I have the phone number posted on the screen, is to talk about an attorney. Now, attorney is very important because CPS, you'll find, is like open heart surgery. You need a professional lawyer, a lawyer that's trained in dependency law. The lawyer has a background in juvenile and family law. And so that's the kind of attorney. And I want to thank Mr. Davis, who's the attorney that produces this podcast. He has a law firm, Vincent W. Davis Associates. He has lots of attorneys, and he handles lots of legal affairs. But his expertise is fighting CPS. He is a 35 years of fighting CPS. He is a family juvenile dependency lawyer, well trained, well educated, just like a doctor in open heart surgery. He is the guy that you're going to want. Now, I made arrangements with him that he's offering a 30-minute consultation for $60. 30 minutes for $60. And Vincent will talk to you there. He'll tell you how to navigate CPS, how to get your children back, and most of all, maybe assure you. I hired him. He saved, when my 3 children were stolen or trafficked into foster care in 2015. I got him because I tried for a while for something called a court-appointed attorney. A court-appointed attorney is, I'm not saying don't use them because they're appointed to you supposedly free, but they usually have a caseload of 30 or more clients. So they don't have time for your case. They won't talk to you before court or after court. The first time you meet them will probably be at your hearing, and they're not gonna help you. They're just gonna do easy things to make the case go away. They're not gonna fight for you, especially if you're wrong at what you're. I mean, if you were wrongly accused, falsely accused. So I hate to say it, is that you're wasting your time, and they'll end up quitting on you. And that is sad because you need, just like a doctor opening your chest, you need an attorney in the law. Now, you may say, well, I can fight pro se. Well, there is a mother here, KK Richardson, out of New York, Brooklyn, New York, and she got an attorney degree, but she still finds she needs to have an attorney. No matter how much you study, and that's a long process. You're looking at 4, 5, maybe 10 years by the time you become an attorney. You want your kids back now before the damage is done. So, pro se, try to fight yourself. They're going to eat you up alive. You have to understand the dependency court, in my case in Orange County, the judge and the social worker attorneys, even the child appointed attorney and my appointed attorney, they're all in cahoots. You're not allowed in the courtroom in California. You're in the hallways. And so you have to understand social services or CPS is excited that you're going to use their court appointed attorney for your children and you because they have control over them. So that's why you need to talk to Vincent Davis. At least talk to him for 30 minutes. It's not to lose. It's only $60. And I know money's hard and tight, but it's the best $60 you spend in your life. He'll go anywhere. He'll fight in all the states, and he'll fight um, in Northern California. He's from Southern California. See, I'm from Surf City, USA, and like a mile from the beach. And right now, there's no wind blowing. Usually, there's a wind blowing, so it keeps me pretty cool. But I'm outdoors broadcasting, and he's in near Los Angeles, um, down towards Arcadia way. Anyway, when you call in, make sure you tell them that Bob Pace sent you, and also when you um, talk to Mr. Davis, make sure you tell him that Bob Pace sent you. That's important for him to know that. But he will make you feel so much better after talking to him. I hired him, but I hired him a year after my case had got started, and it was a mess. It took him 3 years to get, actually 2.5 or 2 years to get my kids back. I've been in it for 3 years, from 2015 to 2017, the end of 2017, when I got back two of my three children. My daughter, of course, was stolen, and it was retaliation by a social worker. These social workers are so bad. Oh, boy. So please call and get yourself an attorney. Remember, it's a dependency law. Also, one thing's good about Vincent Davis, he has sued CPS, both civil and federal court, and he's won lawsuits. He won millions of dollars. So I'm telling you, make sure, make sure that you get yourself good representation because the CPS is like you're in Alice in Wonderland. You fall in the rabbit hole and you're going from room to room. They're talking about off your head. You meet the Chester cat who confuse you further. That's what CPS is. You're like Alice in Wonderland. They are a very terrible agency. They're not pro parent. They don't like seniors. They don't like elderly people. They don't like families. They will make promises and break the promises. They're not transparent. It's a business to them. It's $1 trillion business. I'm talking about trillion. In Orange County, I know they pay $60 per child per month. If you had 100 families with three children, that's $6 million in 1 month. $6 million in 1 month. They get money from the federal government who gives it to the state for foster care services, for everything. And as soon as they open a case, the money starts coming in. My social worker was so bad. She was so bad that she retaliated. And it's sad for me. I keep thinking about it. I raised this girl of mine, my wife and I. She was precious. She was beautiful. And at 12 years of age, when all this was happening, my in-laws, one of my wife's sister was trying to adopt her. That's how beautiful she was. See, I was always wondered about the in-laws because we would send our kids out there, and it was always hard getting them back. And they never came to our wedding. They never supported our family, so they were determined to get our children. The boys knew better, but our daughter, a young daughter, was tricked, and she was not too bright. So when we hired Vincent Davis and he was doing the cross examine of the social worker, he asked a very important question about the two parents that are trying to adopt her daughter, my wife's sister and her husband, and said, "Was there any domestic violence?" And of course, the social worker says, "Oh no, they're really good." Now, Steve Gant, this social worker is 23 years old, no college degree, no license, and she thinks she knows everything at age 23. I mean, she had no mentoring. I don't know if she knew what family reunification was about. Anyway, Mr. Davis had done some prior investigation on domestic violence with the parents, and he had a folder an inch thick of more than 30 reports of domestic violence with this couple, and there were physical domestic violence. So he asked her, he said, "Well, how come on this date there's a report of this that happened?" And so he started going through them. The social worker had mud on her face. She was so embarrassed from her coworkers, the judge, and everything. So she left the courtroom. But she also retaliated because she told our daughter, and she told us as parents, "You're never going to see your daughter again." You know what she did? She told my daughter, "You're going to emancipate from your parents, meaning you can divorce your parents, your brothers, your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins. You're going to change your name, and you're going to seal your birth certificate, and you're going to be adopted into foster care." She did all those things. And that's the last time we saw her at 12 years of age. She's now 22 years old. Her brothers still visit her. I encourage the brothers to visit her. It's very important that they visit her and keep in touch. But so far, she's so brainwashed and thinks we're awful parents. In fact, our three older ones have gotten distance from us ever since that episode happened. They weren't involved, but they were brainwashed by my wife's family. My wife's dad's dead. He went to his grave, wouldn't confess or owe up to anything. That's how evil they were. God, I just can't believe it. Yes, I'm emotional. Yes, I'm emotional. But it's hard. I know that Faye knows the same thing. When something is done unjust and wrong, Faye lost her daughter at 5. I had another daughter I lost at 3 with my first wife, and that was hard to take too. So I know what Faye was going through. When you don't see your daughter grow up, and like my older daughter, who's 12, I don't get to see her go to school dances or going through high school or dating or being a cheerleader. I mean, it was sad. It's so sad. So I'm telling you, these social workers are very corrupt. In fact, Faye would tell you in Richmond, Kentucky, that there's an investigation for over $1 million that went unaccounted for. $1 million. That's a lot of money. In fact, there's another worker, a CPS worker, is being indicted for embezzling money. In fact, the state of Kentucky is the worst state for child protection services, and it's also the highest crime rate of the state. I would be very proud if I was Kentucky or the governor. I think the governor looks great. He's young. He's got a nice family and everything. But don't let looks deceive you. Don't let looks deceive you. I mean, we have this year is going to be a very monumental year for elections. And when I speak about elections, I'm not talking about the presidential. I'm also talking about our judges. All the dependency judges are elected. So you get to elect those dependency judges. So make sure you take your time, get someone that knows something about dependency law. My judge knew all about traffic claims and collision claims and automobiles, but knew nothing about unification or bringing a family back together again. It was sad. It was so sad. So that's very important that you get a good attorney. It'll change your whole life. Yeah, I know. I was pointing to the governor doesn't care. That's what Faye is saying right now. The governor doesn't care. Faye further says about her governor, he's helping the cabinet to be non transparent. And Kentuckians are so dumb, most of them, that they think he's doing a good job. Yeah, Faye, when I saw him being interviewed, when he was being interviewed for being vice president, I'm glad he wasn't picked. But I got to stay away from politics. But Faye knows too well about the corruptness in there. She has shown me tons of videos. Mothers being locked up for no reason at all. There's been several Kentucky people murdered lately. I've been looking at the news in Kentucky. I didn't realize that people are murdered. Girls have been missing. And so it's not a place that you want to go. I always wanted to visit Kentucky, the Bluegrass State, the home of Daniel Boone. But I agree with you, Faye. All right, that's rule number one. Rule number two is the notebook. We need to make sure you use a notebook to keep everything together. 8.5 by 11-inch, 3-ring binder, maybe 3 to 6 inches thick, where you can put all your court papers and everything. And stuff it full of college rule notebook paper and get some subject dividers and put them in there and put your court papers in there in one section. Another section, have a tab for all your parenting classes, make a log of them. Do the same thing with program, anger management. There's a lot of programs that domestic violence, drug rehab. Um, you can put all your certificates there in another section there, make a log. Also, anytime you research on the internet and you find a website or a name or something, write it down and keep that with that notebook. All the websites, the phone numbers and people, who to contact and who to um, help you with your case. And the most important subject is going to be your list of incidents. Now, incidents can be with the police, the child protection system. It could be with the school. It could be with your children, whatever it is. And what you do is you just write on the first line the date, the time, and the location, and the people involved on the first line. Then the next line, you put what the incident was about. And the third line, you put the outcome. If you don't know the outcome, leave a blank space. Come back later when you do know the outcome. Sometimes it may take years for an outcome. But you're going to be in a long fight with them, and you need to write it down because you won't remember everything. So the incidents are very, very important. So highlight it, with the yellow and pink, and that way you can find things and have your dividers and have that notebook with you everywhere you go to the CPS court or whatever. Now, rule number 3 is the most critical one. That rule number 3 is about entering your home. Now, a lot of us are sometimes naive and don't think about answering the door. Lately, there's been so many people that have been killed at the front door. There was Roger out of Gainesville, Florida, that was shot 5 times point blank when he opened the door. And it took a week later, but they did finally arrest the sheriff and going to prosecute him. But that's not going to bring Roger back. He died on FaceTime with his girlfriend. That was so sad. Oh God. Then there's this lady who's trying to deal with life, I guess, and she was washing dishes or something. A policeman was there, he and his partner, and he brought out a gun because she turned to him and he shot her 5 times in the face. 5 times. Well, he was arrested that night and he was fired. That happened really quick. In fact, the deputy right now, they're thinking about firing him because he did nothing. He let that woman die. Oh God, I think they both should have been fired. It's really sad. So With that being said, it's a worse scenario. But anyway, there those two people. There's a Korean lady that was killed too, had mental issues, and she was gunned down. There was some reason, but it's just stupidity. The police, as I summarize, do not know how to shoot or wound people. They only know how to kill somebody. They do not know how to maybe take them down or something, unless they're shot in the foot or the arm. Especially when they don't have weapons that can fire at them. I mean, it's just the lady washing the dishes didn't have a weapon. Her pan she had. The Roger did have a gun, but was pointed down on the ground. He didn't stand a chance. It's like if you're a gunslinger, you take turns and you sit there and you can fire. But this policeman just shot him point dead. The Korean lady, she had mental issues, but they shot her dead. So the word of the wise: don't answer the door. If the door rings, go hide somewhere. Be quiet. Protect your children. Now, if it's a family friend or somebody you can make arrangements ahead of time to do a special knock at the door, a special ring at the door. Then you can open it. But policemen, if you're out there listening, don't stand in front of the door. Get down low at the outside of the door frame. First, listen to the walls. Check out the place. Make sure you're at the right place. Roger was mistaken. His partner was mistaken for domestic violence. There's no domestic violence going on. So, policemen, you shouldn't be answering the door that way. If you're going to knock on it, make sure you identify yourself. That one in Gainesville just knocked a couple times, said in a gruff voice, "Finally, I'm a sheriff." You need to use some people skills. You get a lot more with sugar than you do with salt. So don't try to be a Billy bad person. You know, be courteous. Learn to do people skills, policeman. Learn, that's why you get a bad rap all the time. I see you guys are trying to. I know the police were killed all the time, but it doesn't give you the right to take it out on people that maybe shouldn't have been killed. Life is important. Life is real important. Another thing is too, if you're at home, you hear the knock. It may be the police or the social worker. Don't answer. You're not required to answer the door. There's only three ways they can come in that house. One, you give them permission. Two, there's domestic violence going on. That means the child's endangered. Maybe the child's being strangled or thrown against the wall. The parents being too abusive. There's guns, like guns and knives. Yes, the police and the social workers will enter the room, will enter the house. Third thing is that they need a court order. They need a court order in your home to talk to you to take your child away. And that is a warrant. It's supposed to be a legal document signed by a judge, embossed by a hand stamp that you can feel. And should be a very explicit direction. Should name the parties involved with the accusations. It should also name the children and what they're all being accused of. Furthermore, it should give the address of where the investigation is taking place, the date and time that they can do so, and what they can do. They can take the children or talk to you or search the home. You don't want to let these people in because they're going to find things in your home. They go through your underwear door. I don't know why they do that. But they're looking for drugs or looking for anything that gets you in there. So you really don't want to open your home or give away your children. You don't have to. If you're outside, you encounter the police or social workers, just tell them, hey, look, time out. I need to talk to my attorney. And you have a right to do so. It's your constitutional right to be represented through all legal matters. So you need to get a hold of your attorney. So you just tell them nicely that, hey, look, I can't talk anymore and I need to talk to my attorney. Can I get your name or business card? Make sure you verify their name because a lot of times they'll say the wrong name. With policemen, they have a badge number they're wearing, so copy that number down. The social workers, they have an ID card. Look at the picture, look at the name, make sure it's the same they gave you. And you tell them nicely, you get back to them with your attorney. And they don't know if you don't have an attorney. If you don't have an attorney, go find one. Go find one, but you need it soon because we'll be back again. They'll be back again with a court order. If you really want to, maybe you have a relative in another state. You go to that state and go there and find out quietly what's going on. If you're out of state, they're not going to pursue you. I mean, they will. There was a social worker that was in Massachusetts, Boston, Massachusetts, at the hospital, and the mother was going in for surgery, and she had placed her small daughter with her mother in Rhode Island. And the social worker found out where she put the mother, so they drove to Rhode Island and took their child because the parent supposedly was neglected with their children, which is not true. Which is not true at all. So be careful out there. Also, there's medical trafficking going on. What I mean by that is that there are CPS workers that work at the hospital, and you may come there for urgent or emergency room for treatment for your children, or you may come there to have the birth of your child. They'll hang out there and they'll try to take your child. If they test positive about something, they'll try to take your child just after the child's birth. A policeman and a social worker walk in. It's wrong what they're doing. It's totally wrong. So I'm telling you, be careful of medical trafficking. When you go to a hospital, don't talk to social workers. Don't give them any information. They're really nosy at the hospital. Okay, that was rule number 3, and now rule number 4 is an easy one. You need to research the internet. I didn't do so. The internet has tons of answers. I have right now 52 tabs about ICWA, about the 3E8 motion, about ICPC. There's so much, and I can look it up there. You look into your city and state. If your city's small, you might have to use a bigger city. And you want to type in all the CPS questions you can think of, the child protection system. And I realize there's different names in every state, like Faye refers to her outfit the cabinet, but it's all the same. I just call it CPS, Child Protection System. So that's what rule number 4 is. And rule number 5 was Faye's rule. And that was a rule where you should get all your important documents and put them in a folder and hang on to them. Now, why I'm saying that is you need the birth certificate, the social security cards, copies of your driver's license, your marriage license, things of those nature, because you may need them right away. And also, make sure you get your birth certificate when you gave birth to your child. Don't let it not get it, because it's a record of who the parents are and the social security numbers and stuff. So it's very important, because CPS, if you didn't get it, will get one and put the foster care parents in there. So that's my 5 rules. Rule 1 is get an attorney. Rule 2 is a notebook. Rule 3 is don't let them in your home. Rule 4 is research the internet. And rule 5 is collect all your documents. So I guess we're having small, not too much talk here in the room here. So I've gone over my rules. I've told you how to react. My phone number's up. I can take phone calls. It's my phone number again is 626-698-0990. And we have Faye in here, and I guess I can start talking about, well, I've already told you 2 examples of social workers. I don't think I told you about my social worker, how bad she was. Well, there's these ladies in Prescott, Arizona that wore pink T-shirts. And they were social workers. And they thought it'd be really cute because on the front of the T-shirt, they put professional child kidnappers. And on the back, they said, do you know where your children are at? That's the message that social workers are. They're corrupt. And they parade around in Costco you know, Target, Walmart, Best Buys, all the big stores, and the parents were horrid. They were called. Parents were appalled. I guess is the wrong word. And they called in, and soon those 8 social workers, they're all white ladies with 25 years of social work experience, were fired. They were the child. They called them in that state, Prescott Department of Children's Services, DCS, and they all were let go. They all were let go. So as I tell you, these social workers and policemen are bad news. What do you do? Avoid them. Don't talk to them. Don't waste your time. You need to get an attorney. Remember my rule number one: for $60, I can get you the best attorney in the country for $60 to talk, and from there, it's all the ball in your court. Yes, attorneys' retainers are high and expensive, but if you get the wrong attorney, they'll eat you up alive. I've had so many people call in; they got the wrong attorney and wasted $20,000. So I understand that. Now I have a lot of topics here. I've mentioned the. Let me see what I have here. I did mention the ICPC. That is called the Interstate Compact of Placement of Children. It's an organization that is posed to protect your children um, in the among all 50 states and the District of Columbia, including the Virgin Islands, for protection and support service for children moved between U.S. states, for birth parents unification or reunification when the court has jurisdiction over the child. So it's a private organization that protects the children when they move from state to state. There may be a child that needs help. They may need help. So that's what ICPC is. Let me see what else we got here. If you want to make a complaint, it's very important that you know how to make a complaint against the child protection system. You'll notice that you can make a complaint at the state level to the ombudsperson or civil rights coordinator. I don't know about the ombudsperson. I think they're cahoots. So, but there's a place called the civil rights coordinator. But if you really are not getting anywhere, which I know a lot of you aren't, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services is the one that's responsible for all the child protection services in all the states. Um, you can mail or internet or call a complaint. You complete the complaint and the consent form, and it goes to the Centralized Case Management Operations, 200 Independence Avenue, Southwest, room 5509 F, and it's in the Triple H building, Washington, D.C., 2021. You can also email the completed forms to the OCR complaint at hhs.gov. And if you want to call them, their phone number is 1-800-394-3366. That is to the Children's Bureaus. That's not to Department of Health and Humans, but that's the Children's Bureaus. Also, they can be emailed at info@childwelfare.gov. Let me see what else I have here. They also have the Office of Family and Children's Ombuds. Fill out the complaint form, return it to the office. If you believe a child or parent is at risk of immediate harm, you can call the office for immediate help. And then you also consider filing a complaint with your local state or local office. I find the local office, it goes in one ear, goes out the other ear, and they're in cahoots. They're going to, they're not going to be investigated. So, There's things called CHINs. The other day I came across CHIN. It's the Child in Need of Services, and it's in the family justice use. And there's efforts to prevent out of home placements. Now, reasonable efforts should be to protect the child and achieve a reconciliation of the family. If a reconciliation, voluntary return of the child has not been achieved in 48 hours from the time of admission, and if the administrator of the center does not consider it likely that reconciliation will achieve within the 5-day period, the administrator should inform the parent and child of counseling. I mean, this efforts to prevent out of home placement is really important. And a lot of the agencies forget about it. A lot of the agencies forget about it. Now, I did have some interesting things about the First Nations in Canada. They actually, Canada has a CPS group for the Indians there. They call them the First Nations. In the United States, it's called the Native American Indians. They have what's called the ICWA. Theirs is with an N in front of it, called the Nation Indian um, Welfare Agency. Now, ICWA was passed in the United States in 1978, and it's for the purpose of making sure that Native American children are reunited with their parents. Too many times CPS took the children easy prey. There was never any unification goes on. So what it does, it turns over the Indian child to the tribe who has families that will help get the child back and reunified. Problem is, we've run into some corrupt Indian agencies. One is the Cherokee in Oklahoma, where the executive director is also the same person as the attorney general. So there's a conflict of interest. And a mother named Suzanne is going through horrible times with them. So ICWA is really important. If you're Native American children, you got to be recognized and be registered with the tribe. If you're not registered, you can be registered. And there's 548 federal recognized tribes in America. Now, you have to be careful because CPS workers will lie. They're notorious for lying and fabricating things, and they get away with it. They get away with it. There have been civil lawsuits against them. So, we have about, uh, I have about 3 minutes before I'll have to go. So, I want to thank you all for listening to my podcast. Um, Here, oh, Faye has said some stuff too. Faye has said a real important message here. She says school records, medical records, mental health records for parents and children, birth certificates, and social security are because Department of Children and Families will put a freeze on these records and use the info and files against you if you don't have a uh, a BC or Social Security, a birth certificate or Social Security already before you take your kids. Department of Child uh, Families will apply for them, and you'll not be on the birth certificate, and they'll move to terminate you, and they'll be able to prove you were the original parent. Yeah, that's the sad part. Faye brings in the closure here. that that's how they want to take it. So anyway, thank you, Faye, so much for being in here. I'm so glad that you joined me today. And I want to thank all my other listeners. I want to thank all the emojis. And, again, I'll be on tonight at, um, I'll be on at um, 7 o'clock tonight. So God bless y'all. Take care of your um, children. And I'll see you tonight. Don't stop fighting. This is Bob Pace signing off.